Today we will talk about XLM, XRP, some SHX, because all of them are extremely interconnected and share connections into Jed McCaleb of Stellar, which is why we will be concentrating on Velo first and foremost, because XLM and Velo are part of a plan decided a long time ago. And it all also ties in Interstellar, which is how Velo got tied into Stellar and their team. Velo states that they intend to turn into the Ripple of Asia and have a couple of stellar powerhouses on their team. And I have always found it a bit odd on how there is not a lot put out there on how Stellar is directly connected. Here is the first piece of evidence.
Year after year, the remittance market in Southeast Asia continues to grow. These services are now valued at $150 billion a year. There are millions of unbanked migrant workers that send money back home to their families, yet are not well served by the high fees and slow service provided by the decades-old SWIFT system and fragmented corresponding banking network. Recognizing that the world's financial infrastructure doesn't serve a large majority of the population, the Stellar Development Foundation aims to facilitate the use of decentralized systems to build inclusive and accessible resources for those that need them most. Recently, Interstellar's core focus has been encouraging the implementation and adoption of a better cross-currency transaction system in Southeast Asia, driven largely by their work with Velo. Velo has formed a number of strategic partnerships with fintech leaders, including Visa, Lightnet Group, Kuiper Networks, Chainlink, and others that will continue to expand the company's reach. By tapping into Velo's network of key stakeholders and leveraging Stellar, Velo Labs will be able to provide more efficient, affordable, and accessible financial services for millions of people.
If we were only able to point to that, then I wouldn't be too terribly convicted in this. He seems extremely scripted, which is a little bit out of the ordinary for him. Here is an interview that provides a different perspective.
Jed,
Connects, not only
blockchain
thing, and this is exactly what with this cross-border payments use case in mind.
About what are the main advantage of Stellar blockchain?
Yeah, so Stellar was designed from the beginning with this cross-border payments use case in mind. So it's designed to move money from one region to another, from one financial network to another, between different currencies and this kind of thing. And this is exactly what Velo is trying to do. So it's kind of a perfect match for what they're trying to achieve in Southeast Asia, because it connects, not only the countries within Southeast Asia, but it'll connect their network to the larger Stellar network. So, Stellar makes, representing any form of value very, very easy. So you can represent, Thai baht or, Japanese yen or US dollars. Any of this stuff is a trivial operation inside Stellar to represent, and you can trade between these different currencies and assets. So, again, it's just kind of like tailor-made for this system of moving value around the world.
And here he is in 2017, where he is echoing those same kind of opinions.
The co-founder of Stellar.org. I'm going to talk about creating the internet for payments. Today, payments are actually pretty broken, and this might not seem obvious because on your cell phone you can pay for your car and your hotel, and it all seems pretty easy. But if you dig a little deeper and try to do a little more, there's still some pretty big fundamental problems. And let me give you a couple of examples. So imagine this man here, Tavi, that maybe lives in Atlanta and wants to send money back to his family in Thailand, but he can only afford to send $20 at a time back. But in order to do this, his bank will charge him more than that to send the money, so obviously it's not really possible. And even if his bank did charge a reasonable amount, then his mother doesn't have a bank account, and so on her end, it would involve, getting the money for her to actually get the money would involve other people and more time and more expense.
I just find it extremely coincidental that in as early as 2017, he was already talking about Thailand. In 2020, Lightnet raised $31 million in funding in order to replace SWIFT. And they are one of the key retail-facing connectors in the network. In 2021, we have confirmation of Interstellar and Velo coming together. And shortly after that, they were creating Thailand to Europe cross-border payment options. Velo is involved in a lot. They are essentially using Stellar for its consensus protocol and are partnered with Visa, Axelar, and Solana as well. And I'll begin to tie in some connections to XRP and some comparisons to how it appears as if not only Velo, but Stronghold and SHX might have been the results of a coordinated plan. Ed had a falling out with Chris Larson as a result of the two pursuing banks and other financial institutions. And at the time, he didn't have any support, so he parted ways and created Stellar in 2014.
Banks, it's very sexy when you close a deal with the bank, and we do that sometimes, but they're very slow movers. They're very slow to execute. They're very conservative. They're never going to be Ripple success stories, and it's hard to get them to push the benefits down to their customers because that's risky for them, and then it highlights where they're inefficient. So we focused a lot on banks in the beginning just because a press release with a bank is a big thing, but we discovered they're just very slow to move. Like if all they want is a press release, now we're like, hey, we want to actually move billions of dollars now. And they're like, yeah, we kind of don't.
And in my own interpretation of things, kind of appears as if Stellar has actually ended up with more direct institutional ties. And on top of that, they are also currently in operation. And I have talked about it before a couple of times, but because we are talking about how Velo could have possibly ended up as a Stellar plan that was created a long time ago, Stronghold appears to have a similar story. Stronghold Pay was created in 2016, and Stronghold was created in 2017. Under the legal entity of Action, Tammy Camp is called out as the current CEO of Stronghold and Action Factory. Action Factory Inc. is called out as an officer in Stronghold Institutional Services and in Stronghold Technologies. And finally, Action Factory Inc. has a DBA as Stronghold Technologies, which was created in 2013 in Tammy Camp's name, which is pretty interesting because Stellar wasn't officially launched until almost a year after that. And not to get too conspiratorial here, and I have kind of talked about it in the past, but all I will say on here is that Jed has some hard to find and interesting ties into Alice Bailey, who was involved in the U on top of a couple of others. And that kind of tie is pretty connected into Stellar itself.